Hello, I'm Niehues, and this is my ePortfolio Practicum Review. Just a little bit about myself. I'm currently teaching in the Greeley County School District. That's located in Tribune, Kansas. We're about 15 miles from the Colorado border and about 60 miles from I-70, south of I-70. So we are a very rural area, heavily dependent upon agriculture and small business. I currently teach business education as well as a weights class. I'm certified in both areas. I really enjoy what I do, and I'm currently in my 6th year of teaching overall. I've been in 3 school districts: Abilene, the Renwick School District at Garden Plain, and then I've also now been at Tribune, and this is my 2nd year. In the past, I've coached a lot of sports. When I moved out here, I decided to focus on my degree, focus on the pursuit of my degree. I really wanted to learn as much as I could and devote as much time to it as I could outside of my normal teaching position. I chose Fort Hays State because of the virtuality, the ability to do classes online, and just some of the things that it offered. And, the price point as well. It fit within the budget, and I've always heard good things, so I chose Fort Hays State. Some professional goals. Within 2 years, I'd really like to see myself moving up, either as a principal, vice principal, or AD. And within 5 years, I want to start the pursuit of my ED, a doctorate of education, and within 10 years, I'd like to be trying to find a job or working in a university setting. I have some personal goals. I just want to finish up my house. I'd like to move to a more populated area again within 5 years. In 10 years, I'd like to, work on building a family farm or starting a family farm. My parents and brother already do that. And I could build upon it, or I could start my own. So let's go into my program of study here. I started out in 2016, and here we are in 2018. So in about 2 years, I've completed the coursework. Right now, I'm completing my last 2 classes, educational research as well as school finance, and I'm working on the portfolio here. So I've found a lot of valuable information, valuable experience throughout the process of each one of these classes. I like the way it develops out and the fact that I can teach full-time and take classes, and I feel like I've learned a lot. Let's go into my philosophy of education. My philosophy of education is really built around 4 areas, and it's built around authentic as well as transformational leadership, and I feel like those 2 styles build off each other. Each one has a weakness, but each one has strengths, and I feel like they kind of coexist, and the commonalities and the strengths of one counteract the weaknesses of the other. The 4 areas that I'm really focused in is building relationships. I think this is the first step. If you have a relationship, things go a lot smoother. As you build those relationships with staff, with parents, with students, they're more apt to listen, to respond to what you have to say, and follow you. And then vision. I think vision is very important as well. You have to have a vision of where you want to go. You have to have that plan. If you don't have that plan, how are you going to get where you want to be, or how do you know where you want to be? So I really feel like vision is also a very important attribute to have. And then credibility and consistency. This is something I always appreciated growing up as a student. I still appreciate as a student. I appreciate as a teacher. Is consistency. I want to make sure that and know that the person evaluating me, or my staff, or my teachers, or my fellow staff are credible. But I also know they're consistent. Am I being treated fairly? Am I being graded fairly every week? Am I grading my students fairly every week? Is my discipline fair every week? Am I consistent with discipline? And I feel like that goes a long way when you're consistent and fair, and then they have that credibility to back it up, that people will follow and listen. And then lastly, communication. I feel like this is kind of like the creme de la creme of everything. Communication can really make those first 3 work. Communication is that line of priority, that line of talking where you can effectively communicate what you want, you can listen and effectively get back what the other person wants. And I feel like you have to have communication to make all of this work. Let's talk a little bit about my resume now. I am Niehues, currently live in Sharon Springs. I created this resume as if I was applying for for the principal job at my building because I wanted to have an objective, and that ultimately is objective at some point is to obtain a leadership position. So I thought, what better way to have an objective than to focus it on my current school. Having some licensure, education, everything's in chronological order. My 3 classroom teaching experiences, Greeley County schools, Ram Lake schools, Abilene schools, and I have a lot of coaching experience. I was coaching before I started teaching. I was coaching while I was going to college, and to be honest, like a lot of people, coaching was kind of my calling into teaching. I wanted to coach, but the more I got into the classroom, the more I figured out that I wanted to teach to teach. And I think that's evident in the fact that I have stepped away from coaching the last couple of years to focus on my degree. Some of the honors I've gotten in the past and leadership experience I've had. Currently, I'm a student senator, virtual student senator for Fort Hays State. I try and reach out to some education students to see what they want, what they feel, kind of give them what we're doing in meetings and as we meet and try and formulate some plans for the future. So let's now move on to my annotated bibliography. I went through several different stages here. I've had a lot of articles, gone back and forth, and I honestly think that every one of these articles I've chosen is pursuant of something in correlation with my current superintendent administration wants to work towards, or in the future what would be good for me. You'll notice that a lot of these actually have to deal with evaluation and walkthroughs. I know that that's an integral part of a principal's job is the evaluation of staff and the walkthroughs, and I want to expand my knowledge of walkthroughs and evaluation and how to make them work and how to work with them. I want an in-depth knowledge of that evaluation process, as well as you'll notice here the profession eats us young, the effective principal leadership on the survival rate. I've been there. Good leadership, it's easy to stay on board. If you have bad leadership, it's easy to jump ship. And I think the same thing here. I want to know what traits look like in good leadership. And this one was huge too. This one opened my eyes a lot. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And new principals in town. Take time to get to know the culture and climate of your school before you just overhaul everything. 10 characteristics. I thought that was important. It's a lot shorter than most of the articles, and it's more bullet point based. But I was always looking at what skills, what characteristics can I start building on as a person to improve myself and get ready for a possible future leadership position. And I like this one, a fearless leader. I think as a leader, you have to be fearless. You have to be willing to try things. You have to be willing to make changes. You have to be willing to open yourself up for failure. Because failure is a great learning experience. I'm not just going to talk about some of my experiences, and then I'll go to the report here in a minute. A lot of my elementary experiences were built around supervision of activities. We have a reading night as part of our Title I program. Programs, bus line I did quite a bit. Lunch duty was another huge one I took part in, as well as I got to present a couple things here. People first language to the elementary staff about talking about, putting the person first all the time, and then, parent sped rights. This is something we have that we share with parents, make sure they know their rights. It's a little more concise than the packet they get that's pages. This just hits the highlights. And we've updated it a couple times since I created it. The bulk of my experience came at the secondary level. The last 2 years I've undertaken the master's schedule. That's been an interesting labor of love. It's probably the most painful thing I've done. It changes so much, it's crazy. Again, I've done lunch duty. We do an orientation night where we let our 6th graders come and kind of get oriented to the school. I created a discipline tracking sheet where we can track how many hours students owe, why they owe hours. Currently, I attend league meetings as our school rep. I'm basically the AD at the meeting. Our AD is the principal as well, so his plate's full. So I took this on to take some stuff off of his plate, open himself up. Our current principal is leaving, so my superintendent's asked me to take the admin role in the process of hiring new staff. Part of that is developing question banks, what kind of questions we want to ask. I shared some leadership stuff with staff and my principal about skills, effective skills, essential skills for leadership, as well as how leadership is everybody's business. Um, I also created a master schedule for all sporting events. It's on, you'll notice it has Mountain and Central Time. We are one of 4 counties in Mountain Time, which makes scheduling kind of a nightmare at times. As well as a worker sign-up sheet where people can sign up to work volleyball games, football games, everything we have available. Being a small district, a lot of our stuff actually happens, it kind of coexists. So I have a lot of district stuff that would have carried over, it would have been just in secondary, but where we have staff meetings, K-12, a lot of stuff kind of went into district. So one of the things I really did when I showed up was create a crisis plan. I noticed a non-existent plan in place. There wasn't one, so I took on the process of creating one, which was a pretty huge task. Trying to think about all the possible outcomes that could happen, and then I created a binder that was out throughout the school. It's a printed binder. It's a flip chart binder. I helped transition our school to Google, and as part of that, I also helped train the staff how to use some of the Google tools, with going to KISA, I spent some time as the admin group leader of one of our 3 small groups, working on evaluating ourselves. I also created a tech help request. Basically allows teachers to fill this out, and this gets sent in a PDF format to our tech director as well as the principal and admin. And I've done a couple other things in here. Activity log, I think I'm somewhere around 300 hours or more, 28, 29 activities. I have a lot more. I didn't put them in here. I didn't log them. Some of these I think I have more hours, but I didn't want to overcount. But a couple things ate up a lot of time. Lunch duty, the crisis binder took some time. This past Thursday, I spent some time meeting with my school principal, who's also my field supervisor, to talk about the process and what I've gone through. We went through each one of these, and I went through my portfolio, and I explained everything in my portfolio. The only thing I didn't explain was the reflection, because I sat down the last 2 days and really hashed that out and got it written. So that's the only thing he didn't see was the reflection. But he knows my reflection. I meet with him 2, 3, 4 times a week. And lastly, let's go on to my reflection. Just a little bit about me. As far as the exploration stage, preconceptions, a lot of it was just apprehensive, anxious. How much time is it going to take? Am I going to have time for life? Am I going to have time for my wife in this? Am I going to have time to do both? Is this going to take a toll on my relationship? Is this going to take a toll on life in general? And lastly, I thought that experience would be the best teacher. And in the explanation phase, I think that was right. Explanation was the best teacher. The experience of classwork, the experience of doing portfolio activities, artifact activities, really was the best experience I could gain. The classroom stuff was awesome. I love the case studies. I thought they gave me a chance to really look into a possible scenario in the future as a principal, and how would I deal with it. But I also know that I won't have the time I have to complete those that I had for this. But I think this gave me a mindset of, I know where I'm at, I know what I think, I have some experience, I know that I can call some other people and ask for some help. Conjecture stage, my real big question was, how can I balance the requirements of an administrative position with my home life? And I think I answered that in the analysis stage. As I went through this and I figured out, how to apply the ISLOC standards, the PSEL standards, the ISDA standards, and use those throughout my life, as well as utilizing time management and communication and leaning on support structures, I think I will be able to do this. I think, I've answered those questions. Synthesis stage, as I completed the practicum course, I really started to think about the next step. Do I want to pursue a job? Do I want to pursue a principal job? And I can say that, yes, I think that within the year I would like to start looking for a job. I would say maybe the right job, but if there's an opening, I want to start looking for it. I feel like the classes have prepared me and I'm ready for that next step. Thank you for watching.